Hey, what is good? What is good? What is good, beautiful people? Of course, you know who I be. Good Doc, Dr. Mike TV. Back again, once again. You already know what it is, baby. Instant classic in the making. First time to the channel, guys. Make sure you subscribe, notify, do all the good things to make yourself well versed in the good Doc's content. Everything you should need to know about me shall be listed in the links in the description area below. I've been getting this question a lot lately, so I've definitely decided to address it. Should us as foreigners fear Philippine police? That could be the Philippine National Police, aka the PNP, the Philippine Military Police, the ones that rock the fatigues with the nice little weapons. A lot of people have been asking me questions about this, and I guess I would have to say that this energy comes from the experiences of dealing with cops in the United States of America. And so they just wanted to know, should they feel or should they fear or have the same fears that they have about cops in the US and the Philippines. And rightfully so, I can understand where that energy is coming from. I can understand where your mind is in reference to that. You know, the cops in the United States do not have the best reputation, okay? People are going to have polarizing, differing views in reference to, the men and women in blue, and, it's a long story. I don't necessarily want to sit there and have that particular debate. But what I do want to talk about is what's it like dealing with the same type of law enforcement in other countries, more specifically in the Philippines. And I have had my fair share of run-ins with the law in the Philippines. Not necessarily in the way that you think, but I have definitely had my fair share of run-ins. In Davao City, more specifically, guys, there is a military presence, a police presence on just about every corner in the city, everywhere, just everywhere, and rightfully so. I guess that's the way they protect the city. And hey, say less. If you out there to keep the citizens and the people safe, guess what? I kind of fall within a citizen of the country at that particular time. So if that's what it takes to keep the city safe, by all means, you do your job. All right. But every time I've had interactions with the police or any type of law enforcement in the Philippines, always been positive. Even when I get pulled over, I got a couple of speeding tickets. Always been a pretty cool vibe. I mean, they say, "Hey, sir, you know how fast you were going?" I was like, "What, 5 kilometers over the speed limit or some shit?" But it is what it is, man. So even every interaction I've personally ever had has always been positive. No negative energy, no animosity, no nothing. And I think that if you ask other foreigners outside of myself who have been in the country, you would probably get similar like stories. Again, there are situations and instances where I have personally seen some foreigners get very belligerent and badger and kind of like buck up and kind of get in the face of some law enforcement within the country. But even when they do that, nothing really happens to the foreigner like that. Like, I mean, I've never really seen it to the point where I was afraid that the Philippine law enforcement was going to pull their gun out and shoot this guy. Like, that was never anything that crossed my mind. Again, if this type of transaction is happening in public and in front of people and everybody's seeing it, I doubt that they would even do anything like that, even if it wasn't. But for me, it's kind of like I've never really gotten a bad energy or a bad vibe throughout any of my personal experiences with police. Most of the time, if I see police, man, honestly, depending on what they're doing at the time, depending on what they're guarding. I mean, I ain't trying to get nobody in trouble. But I said if it's a group of them, man, I'll buy them around, man, for real. Like, you think I'm playing? I'll buy them around a red horse, easy. Because I'm telling you, there's nothing like having law enforcement on your side. And if all it takes is $10 out of my pocket to have a good camaraderie with people in the country, more specifically those on the right side of the law, hands down, yo, count me in. All right? If all it takes is $10, man, and around the red horse, bruh, count me in. Because the next time they see you, they're going to remember that shit. They're like, yo, this dude's cool. So anytime that you need them, please believe they're going to be there to help you hands down. Because now you're a brother. You're not just this foreigner face that they may see around and stuff like that. Now you're a brother. All right? And I can really, this is one instance I remember specifically. And it keeps coming back to me every single time when I think about my experiences with law enforcement. It blew my mind. Okay? So I remember one particular time I drove downtown and I drove to school. Don't ask me what I was thinking. Maybe it was just early in the morning and I wasn't thinking. But for some reason, I parked the opposite way that I was supposed to. So basically, when the roads are one way, you can only park one specific way, and my dumbass parked the opposite way. Now that's a ticket. We're talking about a 3,000 peso ticket. But the dude who saw the car, who saw that I parked there, the person that was in the general vicinity, just so happened to be a police officer that lived in my neighborhood. He said, "I know you, man." He didn't write me the ticket at all. He's like, "Hey, my brother." He said, "Hey, what's going on, man?" Had a conversation with him. I was like, man, I parked the wrong way. He's like, "Yeah, man, it's like a 3,000 peso fine." Let's just say I got off with 500. I gave my man 500 for saving me a trip, and that's it. Now again, like I said, I was in the wrong. I couldn't fight it. I wasn't gonna have a knockdown, drag out, fight over it. I threw that man 500. Appreciate him for looking out and called it a day. Now again, this was just me weighing the pros and cons. I'm not saying people are corrupt. I'm just saying that when people look out for you, I kind of feel like, look, I owe you for looking out. And that's just the way that it is, man. Some people just naturally got your back. And it pays well to have that type of camaraderie with people. More specifically in foreign countries, because if you're traveling by yourself, man, you ain't got too many people around or any people that can vouch for you, watch your back, no family or anything like that. You kind of need people in your corner to watch your back, right? So to me, it works to your benefit to have these types of relationships. If you plan on being in a particular place for a long period of time, of course, it benefits you to have these types of relationships with your fellow law enforcement. I'm not telling you that you have to go out and buy them a damn thing. I'm just telling you what I did. Because I know, thinking in my head in the moment, like, look, I said, you never know when I'm going to need you. I may never need you. But just in case I do, let me do a favor. Let me just do a gesture or show them, yo, I'm cool. Let them know that I'm genuinely a good dude or whatever it may be. I'm willing to put up some money for a round. Have at it, gentlemen. And trust me, it doesn't take much. Like $10, man, for a case. It's nothing. And they'll always remember that shit. And half the time, they'll be like, "My brother, if you ever need anything." And this is even without me having to do this shit. They'll be like, "My brother, if you ever need anything. If you never ever need anything, you call me, huh? You call me." Right there, I'm good. Like, yo, here's my number, my brother. You call me if you need me, huh? And we're talking about people who are head of, we're talking about barangay captains. We're talking about people who are in positions to actually do shit. That's what I mean when I'm talking about certain people. So it's always good to just have people in your corner. And you kind of have that type of relationship with your local law enforcement. Now, again, do I believe that you can have that same relationship with people in the United States? Probably. But ultimately, I kind of feel like those relationships benefit you more when you're abroad. So you definitely want to keep everything on even keel. You always want to make sure that you approach everybody with a positive attitude. I know it can be hard sometimes because we go through things like anybody else. But I kind of feel like having certain types of relationships and building those bridges, I promise you, and, it'll get you into places you never thought you could get into. Okay? I actually knew one person who was part of the current president, but at the time he was the mayor of Davao, who was part of his security detail. Dude was just a cool dude. He was just a cool dude. That's it. He was part of his security detail. He ain't talk about his work. But if I asked him, could I meet the mayor at the time, the current president, I think it would have been all right. So, and then I know members of prominent families, people who, we used to share in common hobbies and stuff like that, racing and flying planes and stuff like that. And they used to always be around. Just the way that it is, man. So what I'm saying is this. you should never fear your local law enforcement abroad. And if you ever have that fear, kind of feel like you need to address that quickly within yourself. Like, is this a place that you really want to be? Is this a place that you feel comfortable in? Because I feel like you should be able to rely on your local law enforcement. But if you do not feel like you can rely on your local law enforcement, that's a problem. You know? Because heaven forbid something happens and you actually need their help. What are you going to do then? Can't run to them. Like, well, shit, man. I can't really trust them to help me, or it's going to cost me for them to help me, or I feel like they're going to try to take advantage of me and scam me in order for them to help me. I mean, if you have those thoughts, man, then you might want to rethink that entire situation, you know? So the way I see it is like that. I think you need to build a rapport, and trust me, Filipino people in general make that easy for you, but Philippine law enforcement, for the most part, they make that really, really, really easy. All right, they're genuinely cool people, man. They just want to talk to foreigners too. They want to get to know you no different than you probably want to get to know them. I mean, it is what it is. So, again, guys, I don't think you should have those fears. The same type of vibe that you get from law enforcement stateside, you're not likely to get abroad. Again, all situations are different and all situations are tailored to that particular situation or whatever it may be. So I can't sit there and say that all of them are going to act the same, or all of them are going to be like this, or all of them are going to be like that. But I will say that the majority of them normally come with a very, very positive vibe. They just trying to do their job, man. And as long as you don't get in their way, you Gucci, man. As long as you show them that you're not there to cause any trouble, be a nuisance of any kind, trust me, you're making their job easier by not being a nuisance. And definitely by being a foreigner and not being a nuisance. It pays dividends, and it definitely plays to your benefit, okay? So, if you wanted to know what your experiences will likely be like when dealing with, Philippine law enforcement, I kind of feel like that's it, man. Have any comments, questions, or concerns? Leave it down in the comment section below. And with that being said, Good Doc is officially out. At least Nako Paalam, which means I am going now. Bye-bye, as always. Love you guys. Sincerely do. Makita. Mabuhay. Peace.